Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, Rishi Sunak believes that the police are too woke. You know, this is exactly what I mean about these politicians, right? These people might be very bright, but I sometimes even question that. But these people might be very bright and have been to Cambridge, have been to Oxford, have been to Winchester, have been to Eton. But the thing they lack is common sense. Because Rishi Sunak here has not got the common sense to realise it's because of woke people why he is the Prime Minister today. Because if there wasn't a woke people, right, Rishi Sunak would have never been the Prime Minister. Okay, Rishi Sunak wouldn't have even been a Tory MP, let alone that in the Tory cabinet, right? Because people like him need to remember, that it's people like David Cameron and George Osborne who was pretty woke for Conservatives. They was pretty woke because David Cameron was the one who said, you know what, I want to introduce more black and Asian politicians into the Conservatives, right? Because when we look over this side, it looks like a convention for the Ku Klux Klan. But when we look over that side, it looks like a Benetton advert, right? So David Cameron said, you know what, I'm going to change all of that. So that, right, would have been very, very woke, seemed to be very, very woke at the time. And people like Rishi Sunak and Cruella de Braverman and Priti Patel and James Cleverly and these all of these fools, they don't realise, it's because, of woke people as to where they are. I mean, what these guys really need to be watching about, they're talking about the police. What they really need to be watching is what's happening in the police force, in the police service, I should say. Right? The police have been, obviously they've gone on a recruitment drive, so they have been recruiting any and anybody, and that's actually the truth, because these people have been taking on pimps, Hey, yourself, really. Yeah, these people have been taking on pimps, people with robbery convictions, people who are domestic abusers, right? Sexual predators, people who have, convictions for sexual assault, right? People who have convictions full stop, right? And have lied about them. People who are living with drug dealers in the same house. And they've had all these type of people joining the police service. But that's what happens when when you're in a rush to do something, as the Tories have put the country. The Tories, they're coming. But I was thinking earlier, right? The Tories did come in and say, well, when they came in 12, 13 years ago, they did say, what we're going to do is we're going to bring austerity and we're going to give you a vote of, of about the EU. They said all these things, right? And back that time, I was thinking to myself, because I was, well, no one's not going to vote for them, because that's all crazy. But the people in this country was like, oh no, that's exactly what we want. That is exactly what we want. We want austerity. Right? And I say, well, how's austerity going for you now? Right now, how's the austerity thing gone for you right now? Because, not only did they sell off all of our stuff, then they put us through austerity for, I don't know, I can't remember how much years it was, but it was quite a long time. For me, it's never finished. Right, the austerity measures. For me, I think it's still going on. Right, because everything has been cut completely to the bone, and now these fools, right, need to, they need to, what is it? It's, I think, 40 odd billion, right? They've got a massive hole that they've got to fill, right? But you see, again, right, you say, well, why don't you go and invest in other countries, right? So you could take money out of other countries, like how other countries are taking money out of this one. Why our government go and do some of that shit? No. Because when you've got a bunch of people, who can't run a fucking train line, what would you expect them to be able to do internationally? Apart from just talk about that, we've got soft power. Right? While China are building things all over the world for people, right? And then holding motherfuckers to ransom when they can't pay for shit. Right? But at least, right? And the West are pissed about what China are doing. They're really pissed about it. They're really upset. But I'm quite sure right, that the Aborigines, right, would have been a lot happier, right, if when the British and the rest of the Europeans went over there, they went over there and started buying stuff from the Aborigines instead of murdering them all. But they're upset with the Chinese because they don't like how the Chinese are just going and just, because the Chinese, they're buying stuff, they're using their money. They're not using guns and bullets and bombs like what we've always done. But anyway, right? So that's what's happening in the police service. We've got Rishi Sunak talking about they're too woke, and then we've got the police, right? Recruiting all sorts of different villains, right? This place is coming like Gotham City, where all the police officers are so goddamn corrupt. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages you sent me. A special thanks here to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go through all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all your messages for definite. And it seems that Elon Musk, is going to ruin Twitter, right? Something that this bitch ass has paid $44 billion for, right? And there's no way. I mean, he is really overpaid. I mean, this fool has really overpaid for what Twitter is, and now he wants to charge people. I think it's $7 now. If you've got one of those blue ticks, right, then he wants to charge. Obviously, that's a verified account, so anyone can verify their account and basically have a blue tick for $7 a month, or whatever that is in pounds. Probably nearly £7, right? But But then, right, because he at first they was talking about that $20, right, and then Steve Spielberg, right, got in contact with him and say like, $20? Are you taking the fucking piss, right? I will be out of here, right? And what did he say? He said I'll be gone. I'm sure he said I'll be gone like Enron, but he just used the quote slightly wrong. Do you know what I mean? But no, he used it something like that. He said, "I'll be gone like Enron." I said, "No, you're not supposed to use it like that, Stephen." But yeah. So as I said, he's overpaid for that, right? People think that Elon Musk is this brilliant businessman here, but you got to understand here that he's got a lot of stolen money from Africa, and he had a lot to do with it, right? So you remember people think that he started Tesla, and he didn't start Tesla. He joined Tesla. Yeah, he took over, but and then you got to understand, that when you've got people who are that rich, right, they don't have to, he doesn't have to start designing those cars. He can have designers who will design those cars for him, because he can pay them enough money, because they haven't got enough money to start their own car company. Okay, so that's why these people who design these cars, if you're dealing with like really big companies, you might look back and say like the owner in the first place might have designed one of the first one or two cars, but then after that, these people have got so much money so they can employ people to design cars for them, right? They don't need to be in there designing cars, but obviously it's still their design, because they've paid that person to design that car. So basically it is theirs, however you look at it. So Elon Musk is just one of those people who's been very, very lucky in life, because obviously he was born into a sapphire mine, I believe, obviously in Africa, and he's making good use of Africa's money. But right, this 44 billion, right, that he has just spent, right, I mean his repayments, I think it's about £1 billion a year. I think it might be slightly less, it might be more, right? But it's those type of figures, right? It's massive figures. So he's got to service that. He's got to service that loan. He's got to really service that loan, right? And as I said, yeah, this is just. I mean, if you own Twitter, right, and this fool come and offered you that type of money, you'd be just like, well, you know something, yeah? A fool is quite easily parted with their money quickly, right? Because I'm telling you, right, I can see him absolutely crashing Twitter. I can see him absolutely crashing Twitter to pieces, because I don't think all these people are going to pay this money to have the verified accounts first of all, right? So I can't really see, and even doing that, I mean that doesn't even touch the sides. With the amount of verified accounts that he's got at the moment, right? It doesn't even touch the sides. With what his repayments are. Obviously, they're massive advertising, medium for Twitter, but you know, I think that he's like, I think he could have well overreached on this occasion, right? Because it's one hell of a lot of money, and it's going to take a lot. It's going to take a real lot for him to start balancing those books. Elon Musk was tweeting conspiracy theories about Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi. He's read up. He got something off of a far right, some far right website or something like that, or far right Twitter handle, right? Because he's the main twit, so he can see all the tweets from all the twits around the world because he's number one twit, and so he's tweeted that there's something strange about what's happened to Paul Pelosi, and then you got people saying, well, what? Just tell me this year. Why was he in his underwear then? And you got a man in his house. Why was he in his underwear? So, well, it's because it's 2:30 in the morning and he was probably in bed. I mean, me personally, I've woke up a few times where I've got on like a full raincoat with hat, right, and galoshes, right, and I've woke up like that and I thought, ooh. But on a normal basis, right, when I'm in bed, I would probably be in underwear, right? As Paul Pelosi at 2:30 in the morning, right? These people, seriously, the right wing, these people are psychopathic. They're evil, right? They're some of the nastiest people that you can find anywhere. Right? I mean, Donald Trump, as well has jumped on this as well. Talking about something strange has gone on there, and say, well, yeah, something strange has gone on there. Yeah, someone broke into the man's house and beat an 82-year-old man in the head with a hammer. But these right wing people are trying to push a conspiracy theory, right? That Paul Pelosi was in a gay relationship and this was some type of gay thing, and that's why this man was in his house in the morning at 2:30, even though the man himself has admitted he went in there to go and bust, right, Nancy Pelosi's knees with the hammer, right, and he was going to get answers out of her because he wanted to find out what the fuck was going on. That's what he's saying, right? But all of these right-wing nut jobs, right, are coming up with all sorts of different conspiracies. I mean, this guy said he was on a suicide mission. So I mean, so obviously, they're pretty lucky, But I've seen videos of Nancy Pelosi from January 6th, right? And I can tell you this, right? If Nancy Pelosi was there, there's a good chance, that she might have been giving this guy a good fucking beating. I'm telling you, right? Because if you see, right, some of the videos I've seen of Nancy Pelosi, right, when she was in the back, right, this woman's talking about how if such and such person comes over, she's gonna punch them the head out and she will go to prison. I was like, whoa, she's 82, So I'm not 82, don't look 82, right? But seriously, she's one serious woman, Nancy Pelosi. Right, so I feel, I might have feared for this guy's life, right, if Nancy Pelosi was actually in the house when he turned up there, because I think she could have well taken that hammer from him and beat him to death with it, right? But still, right, you've got all of them, right, making real jokes about this thing, like as if to say it's funny. I mean, Dom Jr. put out a Halloween. This is my Halloween costume, which was a pair of Y fronts and a hammer, and obviously that's depicting what happened to Paul Pelosi, and say, well, how did Donald Trump raise a sicko like you? How did Donald Trump raise someone who could be so sick? Because that's the only way I could describe their behaviour as, it's mentally challenged their behaviour over what's happened to this 82-year-old man in his own house, right? Especially as the person who's done it has admitted to what they've done. And these cretins, right, are still, right, trying to put out conspiracy theories, But I just look at the right wing and say, you know what? Anybody who can vote for that, I mean, you know exactly what you're voting for, don't you? You know exactly what you're voting for. And then we move over to Israel, because it looks like Benjamin Netanyahu has been re-elected. And you think, well, you see, Benjamin Netanyahu, again, one of the most evil motherfuckers to have ever lived. Right? This motherfucker is evil personified. Right? This fool, right, is as evil as motherfucking Adolf Hitler. Right, and it's really strange, yeah, because right, Adolf Hitler, right, he was murdering a lot of white people, right, and the world stepped in and said, no, and those same white people, right, are now murdering, right, brown people, right, and the world is like, we can't see what's going on over there. We didn't even realise. Well, it's been going on 80 motherfucking years. Oh, we didn't realise. We didn't know. Right? And then, right, Israel goes and, they've never ever wanted peace with the Palestinians. Never ever. When you elect people like Benjamin Netanyahu, you know exactly what you're doing. You know you are electing him because he is going to go and exterminate as much Palestinians as possible. And that's the reason why you're electing him. You know exactly what you're doing. Right? And I just think that, those people are just, the people in Israel, right, who elect this man, right, are just as evil, because this man is one of the most evil racists since Adolf Hitler's. Right? This man, Benjamin Netanyahu, he should never be in power anywhere in the world, but they keep on electing him. They keep on electing him because they know that, he's a hard-line, far-right, racist, fascist. And that's why they keep doing it. Right? And that for me is just disgusting. Right? They should be trying to get peace with the Palestinians. That's what Israel should be doing, trying to get peace with the Palestinians, instead of trying to exterminate them like Adolf Hitler done to them. Just nasty. Oh yeah, so we've got a human crisis at Manston Immigration Centre, but the government have now started moving people out as fast as you like, as soon as, right, things started to get into the press, where you've got children sleeping on concrete floors and all these things for months. And the prison, I believe they're prison officers, right, are complaining about the conditions, because there's scabies and all these type of things going around in this place. So but Corella de Braverman, right, has started moving these people out. So I think 300 or 400 of them was moved out yesterday, and obviously now these people are going to be started putting into hotels. Right, which obviously, what do you think the first thing that's going to do? That's going to wind up the same fools it needs to wind up. Right, and all of this is things what they do on purpose. They know exactly what they're doing. Food inflation is over 11.6%. I knew, right, that once this country, voted in the Tories, that everything, because because the Tories are only out there for rich people, and they believe, right, that if you're not rich, then it's your own fault for not being born to rich parents. That's how they look at things. It's your own fault, right? They might pretend, oh, you know what, we're here to help the working classes, but just look how much food banks are in the country. Right, you've got teachers having to buy meals, and having to buy shoes and all sorts of different, and deodorant and tampons for children in schools, because their parents can't afford it. Right, and then you've got Shell and BP putting in, right, profits 7-8 billion for the quarter. 7-8 billion. I mean, do you actually know how much money that really is? Because you say, well, why couldn't you take that off the pumps so that No, but then they're like, no, 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 no. We're just going to carry on because that's all our money. So they just carry on. They're just laughing. They're just laughing. They're just laughing their heads off. You know, but people, the people of this country, I don't get it. They believe that the Tories have got their back for some reason, and the Tories have never, ever, not once, not once. I mean, has anybody's life got any better in the last 12 years? I mean, they should be ashamed of their record. They're coming out, they're trashing their own record. They're telling us what kind of how bad the state is of the NHS, and it was nowhere near this state when they took over. So they've done all of this. Right, they're your friend who has come back, right, brought your car back, right, but they've only brought back the steering wheel and the keys. You say, what was the rest of the car? Well, they crashed it at 100 miles an hour. Right? But when you get a new car, they're going to want to get a go of it again. Go and pick the wife up. Right? Go down and pick up the kids from the youth club in your car. They've written off your one before, but that's what the Tories have done all the time. They've constantly done that to the people in this country. Constantly, they've constantly done that, and the people in this country are like, well, we could do some more of that. Liz Truss' phone was hacked by the Russians. I mean, when the Russians had said, oh, well, because, the Russians, they hated Liz Truss because, they thought, Sergei Redrov said the woman is a dummy. And then the British people was like, and that is the person, oh, no, sorry, not the British people. Not the British people. The Tory members was like, and that is the exact person who we need to run the country. The woman who the Russians think is a dummy. But, they hacked her phone, and look, Corella de Braverman, right? She's sending all information, right, to a private server, right? And she must have known that the Russians has hacked Liz Truss' phone because you know something, the government had covered this up. They knew because this happened when Liz Truss was Foreign Secretary, so they knew, right? So Corella de Braverman would have known, right? While she's sending, right, like documents to a private server. Right? And she knows that she's not allowed to do that, but she knows that the Russians have hacked the Foreign Secretary's phone. So if the Russians have hacked the Foreign Secretary's phone, there's a good chance they could be hacking the Home Secretary's phone as well. You see, this country is just run so terrible because Corella Braverman, she's risky and she's dangerous. That's the thing with her. Rishi Sunak, he will be attending COP27, and you know why? Because Boris Johnson's going in. He don't want to make a damn fool of himself, right? So now he's had to do a complete 180. Yes, 180, right? He's had to do, right? And now he's going because he's got to go because otherwise, he'd be making himself look very stupid. And obviously, there's the fact that he's taken like £550,000 off of people from the fossil fuel industry. So now his ass has got to go, and he's just made another fool of himself because people are going to look at this and say, obviously he's going to get it a lot harder than any other, prime minister that would have done a U-turn on something as simple as this. But he's going to get it now. Matt Hancock has signed up for I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. And you know something, right? ITV have really, they've pulled it out the bag. They pulled this one out their back pocket, ITV. This is he is an absolute catch for ITV to have got Matt Hancock, right, into I'm a Celebrity. Because first of all, I mean, you're going to find he's going to be eating all sorts of kangaroo testicles. Right, because I can imagine that all of the MPs are going to be phoning up and voting for him, right, to stay in, right, to keep him there right as far as possible, right, and put him through the most horrible trials, and that's what they're going to do. I can just see it already, right. So I mean, he's very brave for doing that in the first place, but man, his career is done because you didn't see the other day when he was there and Rishi Sunak was like Rishi Sunak was after Rishi Sunak was made Prime Minister and Matt Hancock was there vigorously clapping and Rishi Sunak just dissed him, just walked past him and just dissed him. And I think that right there, right, was the thing that said to Matt Hancock, you know what, my career in politics is done. I'm never going to get another frontline. I'm never going to get in the front, especially not with Rishi Sunak. You know, he might have with Liz Truss. Might have been a slight chance. I mean, with Liz Truss, if Boris Johnson had been able to stay, he might have been able to bring him back in if he. But once he's seen that, he knows that the writing was on the wall. So he's just like, you know what, he has to go for a different career. Do you know what I mean? So. And 350 grand as well. So, not much people can really turn that type of money down, even if they ask you to eat a kangaroo's penis. I don't know if you see, obviously, Corella de Braverman, she decided to put her foot in it firmly in her mouth again by calling, the migrant crisis an invasion. Right? And then when you see, and she done that, the day after, when one of the centres was attacked with a petrol bomb, she decided to call it an invasion. So you say, well, is that really the type of language? But she knows exactly what she was doing. This is the thing. She knows exactly who she's trying to appeal to. She's trying to appeal to the racist scum in this country, right? And she'll do very well appealing to them by using that type of language as well. Because there's people in this country that really lap up that bullshit. And I don't know if you heard this perma crisis. You know what I mean? It's apparently the Collins Dictionary. They're using that as their word of the year alongside Partygate. Perma crisis. You know what I mean? All one word. Perma crisis. You know what I mean? I think it's just like it's like a catchphrase that say what you see. I mean, once you hear the word, you can work out what type of what it actually means really. Oh, Brexit, eh? Made.com, right? Looks like they're going into administration, right, with the loss of around 700 jobs. And that's, and that, right, is going to be down to Brexit. Obviously, you know that, right? Because, you can imagine that they import a lot of stuff in. So obviously the import charges would have flown up, because obviously they wouldn't have had import charges before Brexit. They wouldn't have had import charges. They would have just, all it would have been like was delivery charges. But now there's customs charges on all goods. When goods are coming in from Europe and all that, which is something, as I said, which is something that we never had before. I got stung with it a couple of weeks ago because I had to pay an extra £48 customs charges. I thought it was 44, but when I looked at the invoice the second time, it was actually £48 I had to pay extra. Right, so that's why companies like Made.com, right, are failing, and this company, right, looks like they're going bankrupt because it looks like they're calling in the receiver. So 700 jobs. So we have to say thank you to you racist motherfucking fools for voting, right, to smack yourself, right, all over the place, right. Brexit is not working. Confidence in British science has been all but lost after Brexit, experts have warned. They don't want to know anything that our scientists are doing anymore. They're not interested because you know what? We're not in the EU no more. So as far as they're concerned, they're all working in their little clique, and we are not involved in it no more. And that the only people that can hurt is us. It can only hurt the industries in this country. The professors and the doctors. Because it's all science. That these guys live for science, right? And if they're not around the table, right, with all of the other people, they just get left behind, unfortunately. But a lot of the Brexit, you've got to remember, a lot of the people who voted for Brexit, a lot of these are ambitionless people. These are people who have got absolutely no ambition, and they just wanted to just destroy things for other people in this country. Millions of EU citizens can be deported or even held in custody if they haven't upgraded their citizenship in this country. And I believe that all that was supposed to be sorted because the British government are acting illegally, a London court has been told, and that is because they are telling EU citizens that you could be deported or right, you could be held in custody if you do not upgrade your status within this country. And they wonder why they've got thousands of jobs, going in the NHS. That they need thousands and thousands of staff. The rotten state of the food industry. The UK food industry is down in exports massively, right? But the imports trade is up, right? Imports from the EU up by over 20%, right? So imagine that, even I don't know how to, there might, there might not actually be VAT, on the when you're exporting like food products in. Like, if it's fresh meats and things like that, there might not actually be VAT on it. So there might not be customs charges and things like that. So that's the reason why, the Europeans can just be having a whale of a time. But remember again, right, that when they import stuff into this country, right, the Europeans are like, well, if you want our stuff, right, then you pay all those charges. I'm not paying no new charges. That's what the Europeans have been saying. They've been saying, also, we're not filling out no paperwork. They're not doing that. But they've told them straight, we're not doing that. We're not filling out no extra paperwork. You want extra paperwork, you fill that shit out, right? Because you know something, we can go elsewhere and sell our goods elsewhere. And the British are like, oh, no. We'll do all of it, don't worry, right? We'll do all the red tape and we'll pay all the extra costs. We'll even pay your extra costs. Because you know why? Because we ain't got no damn power. Right? And why is that? Because the people in this country are a bunch of racist, xenophobic, bigoted twats. And I have to bow out of here because I'm over 11 minutes over. I didn't want to go over that, but I didn't do a video yesterday, so, Anyway, guys, look, I'm going to bow out of here. This, my friends, is By Any Means Necessary. I'm DMC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.